hold on, I need a brush out of my purse. I feel so weird.
Party room, just see that. Yeah, body, face, for ya, triple threat to a lawyer. Yeah, body, face, for ya, triple threat.
Hey guys, it's Brooke, and today I'm going to be doing something that I have never done before, and that is a get ready with me video. And I think what honestly inspired this video is that I watched a lot of Jeffree Star videos last night, and it made me want to talk about makeup, even though that I'm not good at talking about makeup. And let me just go ahead and like preface this, like before I even start. I'm not like a makeup person. Like, I wear makeup, I like makeup, but I'm not like one of those people. Not that there's anything wrong with those people. I know and love many of them, but like I don't like always have like the newest stuff. Like, you'll see like I have some questionable things that I use. I don't always, you know, have the right procedure going. But this is just me doing it, and I'm gonna kind of chit chat because I went to go see A Star Is Born this weekend, which is Lady Gaga's movie that she did with Bradley Cooper, and it was so good. And honestly, like, I just want to take a moment and talk about that, and also put on makeup, because I watched too much Jeffree Star stuff. First of all, I use the Wet n Wild Photo Focus foundation in the palest shade that they make, I think, called Porcelain. Yes, I love Wet n Wild. You'll actually see Wet n Wild several other times throughout this video because I really like them, because I don't have a lot of money and they're cheaper, but they are of good quality and they are cruelty free. So I think they're a win-win. Yeah. Okay. So my brother, my older brother, who's 23, he is like a huge Lady Gaga fan. He has been for probably over 10 years now, since she first came out. And I feel like if I hadn't grown up with him talking about her, I would have kind of an ignorant opinion about her, like a lot of people do, but I actually think she's a very talented person. I'm not a huge fan of her, but I'm not like in the fandom, but I like a lot of her music, especially her more recent music. Joanne is one of my favorite albums, and a lot of the Born This Way album I really like. So I just kind of like put this on my face, obviously, and I'm just gonna take this foundation brush that is also from, where does it say it, Wet n Wild, and rub that out. So everything I know about her pretty much is from him. And when I found out that A Star Is Born was coming out, I didn't really know anything about the older versions of it. I just thought it was something that she was doing. And I really wanted to go see it with my brother. And a lot of you were talking about it. I saw Halsey post on mine that she was in it, and I was like, or like a cameo in it. So I really wanted to, that made me even more interested in it, because y'all know I do stan Halsey. And Bradley Cooper is in it. Bradley Cooper is. So, I really wanted to go see it, but I don't really have money right now because I'm trying to save up for Christmas, so I didn't really have an opportunity, and like none of my friends have like gone and seen it or like talked about going and seeing it, so I hadn't really had an opportunity up until now to like just go to the theater and see it. And so this weekend I go to my dad's house, and my brother also comes home to visit for Veterans Day weekend, and I'm like, okay, we gotta go see A Star Is Born, and he had already suggested it too, so we were like on the same page. So we went, and I'm trying to think of how to explain what exactly I was expecting, and I struggle with that a little bit because I don't know what exactly I was expecting. If I'm gonna be honest, I saw the stuff for it, like the promotional pictures and all of that, and just like, you know, the movie cover, the picture where they're like sitting and he's playing the guitar and they have like their heads together, and I kind of felt that it might be a little bit corny. I'm also just going to take a damp beauty blender and rub through it just a little bit to make sure it's not streaky, because that brush sometimes will leave it a little bit streaky, and I just think it looks cleaner if you do this. I only do this if I have like extra time, which I do, because y'all know I can't talk for a short amount of time, so I'm doing this. Like I was like, oh, it looks a little bit like it might be cheesy, but then I'm also like, Lady Gaga is such an artist that I can't see her doing something cheesy. So I was like really interested to see what it was going to end up, like how it was going to end up being. So we went, and at the beginning, I was instantly intrigued by it because the opening scene, by the way, this is probably going to go off spoilers, so the opening scene is Jackson, who is played by Bradley Cooper, playing guitar, and I really like, one thing that I loved about the movie, I'm going to give this just a second to dry. One thing that I really loved about the movie was the like camera angles. Like when it came in at the beginning, it's hard to explain, but like the camera angles as far as the concert shooting went was really cool, and also it was very rock and roll, the song he was playing, and from the beginning I was like, okay, I really like it. And so, you know, then it shows Allie, who is Lady Gaga's character, and she is in, you know, her place of work, which I never figured out what exactly it was that she was doing, like where she was working. Now I'm just going to take a Wet n Wild brush. This is eyeliner, it's not mold, sorry. A Wet n Wild like powder brush, and take my Rimmel Stay Matte in 001 transparent and put that on my face. So, but I thought it was kind of a cool metaphor, that scene at the beginning where they make her go take out the trash. I was like, that's kind of relatable, because I myself have had multiple jobs where I've had to take out the trash. I was like, that was just like a little moment where I was like, I see that little shout out to working class people. So, you know, she goes and she has like the gig at the nightclub, and she sings in French, which was freaking incredible. And my brother also, he really loves drag stuff, including like RuPaul's Drag Race and all that stuff. So he really, like, the whole movie reminded me of him too, like with all the stuff with the people in the club being involved in drag stuff. And I really, like, just from the very beginning, I thought that Allie was a perfect character for Lady Gaga, because of just how independent she was, and the way that she wasn't really too sure of him to begin with, and all of that. And like, I feel like in a lot of situations people would have just like chased right after the big rock star guy, and that's not really how she was. So I liked that. And the part of the movie which happens on the night they meet, towards the beginning of the movie, where, you know, she punches the person in the club, and they go to the supermarket, and he gets the thing of peas and tapes it around her hand. They're sitting in the parking lot. That may have honestly been my favorite scene in the whole movie, and I'll get to more on that later. This is a, hold on, that's not what I want to use first. This is my like ride or die blush that I use. As you can tell, it looks like a ride or die. I've had like probably 3 of these, and this is the point that this one is at right now. So, you know, not doing great. The little plastics come out. So yeah, but this is the 05 Luminoso baked powder blush from Milani, and I have used this since I was in like the 8th grade, and not that I never use any other blush, but 99% of the time it's this. And so I'm just taking this little brush, which is actually from a Victoria's Secret brush collection that I had. When I was little, my mom always told me, when you put on blush, you do it like this. So that's what I do. So that's what I'm doing. Anyway, so that scene was my favorite. And I just thought it was so sweet how You know, they came out on stage and sang, and I was like impressed. I was like, can you imagine if you actually sang a little bit of your song like that for somebody and they turned it into like a whole arrangement of a song? Like that is goals right there. And I just loved Jackson so much from the beginning. Like, it was evident that he had some issues, but I really loved him from the beginning. And it was just so good. So the scene where, you know, as she starts getting more popular, being associated with him, and she sings Always Remember Us This Way. That's definitely my favorite song from the movie. I know that's kind of like basic, like I feel like that's like everybody's favorite song from the movie, and that's the one that's like really the single, but it's also my favorite. Like, especially concerning like the events that happen in the movie later on, that song is just so perfect. Okay, and then I have this palette that is by Profusion, and it's the Metallized Hypnotic Highlight Palette. And I dropped it on the floor and broke it, so the purple is like pretty screwed up. But this is basically a cheap generic version of the Anastasia Moonchild palette, which is why I got it. And the color that I use the most is this one right here, which is pretty much the most basic highlight color that is in there. So it just looks like that. And it's pretty, and I like it. And I'm using the same brush, which is probably not what you're supposed to do, but that's what I'm going to do. And anyway, so the one thing I really loved about the movie was I loved how you could feel the time passing, but it didn't feel forced that the time was passing. And I hate to be this person, but going on into the movie, like, as you could see that he was having more and once again, spoiling. As you could see that he was having, you know, the problems with the drugs and the alcohol and all that, I was like, I had to say to my head, I was like, he's gonna end up dying. And so I was almost like anticipating that, but I was like, okay, maybe they won't do it. But I kind of already had that idea in my head. And so it goes through, she starts getting bigger. She gets the gig on SNL. And another one of my favorite parts of the movie is how they like literally like show like behind the scenes at SNL. And it shows her performing there. Like, I just thought that was really cool. And I felt like there were so many scenes that you could just feel, like the scene where she's sitting in the bathtub and they get into the argument. Like, that's just so real. I think I'm getting kind of out of order at this point. I don't think I've even talked about them getting married yet, but that was another part of, that was my favorite, was their, you know, wedding. And him making the little ring out of the guitar string. That's just like all of my life goals, okay? Like, I just love it. And I love that. And as she was, I kind of felt what Jackson was feeling. Like, I was kind of getting irritated too as she started getting bigger at almost like her being a sellout. And it's very interesting because the music that Ally made was very, very similar to Lady Gaga's style of music, especially her older music, like when she first became popular. Okay, and then I'm just taking the Urban Decay Primer Potion. Look, I actually have a nice thing, and I'm just gonna be like priming my eyelids with that. I was kind of like, because I almost, like, I feel like it was kind of a funny, like, not funny, but like almost maybe an ironic comparison, because in the beginning, Ally was kind of like how Lady Gaga was when she first started doing things, you know, doing stuff in clubs, and the stuff that she did with Jackson was stuff like she kind of does now. And then, you know, I know that this is not supposed to be about Lady Gaga at all. This is a fictional story, but felt like that did like reflect aspects of her own personal career really well. And you know, it broke my heart when Jackson was kind of being rude about it, but like also like I kind of felt it. I was kind of like, yeah, but like also I felt like it was very real when it showed, you know, him almost being kind of jealous, and especially when it started getting closer to the Grammys, and he was supposed to be doing the Roy Orbison tribute, and they ended up not letting him sing and all that. He ended up playing guitar, and I felt like, you know, it clearly illustrated like he was fading out and she was fading in, and that was kind of driving a wedge between them. And I felt like all of that was so well done without it being forced. And Bradley Cooper directed and produced this movie, and I think that he just did a fantastic job with it, with the storytelling aspect. I don't know how much of it he wrote, but I know that Bradley and Stephanie wrote all of the music for it and recorded all of the music for it. And another fun fact that my brother threw in, he always has all the like inside knowledge. I'm waiting on this to dry, by the way. He told me that all of the performances that they did in the movie, like they did those as live performances, and they never reshot a live music scene, like, so, which I think is really cool and just showcases how talented they are as well. But they get to the Grammys, and that's a huge moment, and I haven't really talked about Allie's parents yet, or her dad, but I thought that was kind of a funny aspect of it, that her dad had been like almost pushing her to become famous her whole life. And also, this is my main eyeshadow palette, favorite eyeshadow palette of all time. This basically has everything I could ever need or want in it, all of the nudes and smoky eye stuff. Bella got me this palette for Christmas last year. I've already kind of made a dent in it. I use this pretty much every day. I might throw in something from this palette, maybe. I've been using that as a mirror. This is the Pretty Vulgar, I don't know which palette this is, but it's by Pretty Vulgar, and it looks like this. So this has a little bit more pinkish and purple in it, which is really the only other thing I use besides this. So yeah, I might throw a little bit of that in there. But I'm starting out, and I'm using this like standard e.l.f. eyeshadow brush, and I'm going into this color, which I just use as a base color, and this is probably the most frequently used color because I put it under everything, and I'm just gonna put it all over to kind of give a base. My sister just pointed out to me that it literally says the Early Bird palette on the front of this palette, so yeah, that's what it's called. Not good at this. The Grammys happened, and that's where Halsey made her little appearance, because she announced the Grammy, and like, it's hard to even put into words, which is kind of terrible that I can't put it into words, because that's kind of what I want to do for a living. But it was just like, there was so much of the movie that you could feel without it being said. And it was like, okay, like, I understand why Jackson feels this way and is being this way, but does he just feel this way because he's, you know, drunk and on drugs, or does he actually feel this way? And like, maybe it's a little bit of both. And you know, the scene, you know, at the Grammys, it made me cry when he, you know, goes up on stage with her and he passes out, because that was, you know, so it showed that even after all of that, how much she still cared about him. And because, like, I just thought it was crazy, the scene where she, you know, he's like in the shower trying to get woken up, and she like crawls in the tub in her dress that she wore to the Grammys and is like hitting him, trying to get him to wake up. Like, that was just like such a raw scene. And then, you know, he goes to rehab and he gets out. And I was like, okay, this is the point where I was like, okay, they're not going to kill him off. He's going to get better and it's going to be okay. But then I was also like, man, that's kind of an easy way to end it. So I was still a little bit scared. So I'm just going to start with this color right here, which is kind of a shimmery brown color. And I'm going to try to put that in the crease. And it may not actually end up in what is actually the crease, but it's fine. And so, but okay, so like him going to rehab, I was like, okay, maybe this is going to be the part. Like, maybe this is the climax of the movie. He comes back. And, you know, I think that was the point. Like, I think that, you know, the villain was always supposed to be her manager or whoever that guy was, because that was the person who really pushed her away from being herself from the get-go. But nothing made me more upset than that scene when he had gotten out of rehab and he came and told him that he needed to, you know, get out of her life and all of that. Because, I mean, obviously, I haven't said it yet, but he kills himself. And that is literally what did it. That guy is responsible for him killing himself. And my question is, I wonder if Allie ever found out about that. And my guess is probably no. But I just, like, I couldn't breathe when all of that was going on with him, with the belt and all of that. And I just, like, I knew it was coming, but I was like, no! I wanted them to just be happy forever. But also, I felt like them doing that gave so much more depth to the movie than it originally had. Like I was saying, you know, if they hadn't had the tragedy, it would have been a lot cornier than it actually was. So that's an interesting part of it. But that last scene really got me as well. And I almost, like, this might be an unpopular opinion, probably will be, but I was a little bit upset that, like, I understood, like, that song probably did work the best. But I wish that at the end she had also did I'll Always Remember Us This Way Again, because I felt like that kind of summarized it more. I don't know. But that song was beautiful, and I love how it kind of filled in some of the scenes that it had cut off earlier in the movie. Okay, now I'm taking this color right here. And it's hard to think about the story going on after that, because he was such an important part of it, but also, like, I don't even know how to feel. I was bawling, crying. Even though, like, I felt like the blow of it was kind of softened by the fact that I kind of expected that it was going to happen, but I still wasn't ready for it. And I just, but one thing that amazes me about that last scene, and that last scene was incredibly powerful as it was, but my brother, and you probably don't know this if you're not a Lady Gaga fan, but my brother was talking about this song that Lady Gaga has off of Joanne called Grigio Girls, and it's about her friend Sonia who died of cancer. And she actually, he said that when they filmed that last scene, Sonia's husband had called her from set and told her that she needed to come on because it looked like, you know, Sonia wasn't going to make it. And so she left the set and she went to Sonia's house, and she died that night. And she was distraught, but her husband was like, hey, she wants you to go back and finish that movie. And so she knew that that was the last scene. She had to do that scene at the end where she's singing that song. And so she went back that night and sang the song. And so it had that like genuine emotion behind it because she had just actually lost someone. And I think that even though that's absolutely tragic, that gives so much more of a meaning to the whole thing, because that's something that Stephanie really expresses in her career a lot, is how painful it was for her to lose that friend. So for that to be going on while she was filming the movie, to me is just a huge deal. So now I'm taking this color, which I use a lot, is like the highlight color. It's kind of a goldish white. And yeah, I felt like that was very scattered, but once again, this wasn't me doing like a proper review of it. It's just me doing more of like a chit chat style video about it. But I felt like, I don't know, like there was so much like symbolism, and I feel like a lot of the movie, like you just had to get it. Also, I haven't even talked about Charlie. That dog was like one of the best parts of the whole movie. Now I just have like a basic black eyeliner pencil. Like it's not anything fancy at all, but I'm about to sharpen it. But the soundtrack is so good too. Like once I came home, I immediately jumped on the soundtrack. The soundtrack is another thing that I feel like is perfect for fans of Lady Gaga, especially like people who have been fans for a long time, like my brother, because, you know, actually Bradley's songs are my favorites on it because they're really, really good. Hold on, let me figure out how I'm gonna do this, because I need both of my hands. Bradley's songs are my favorite. Black Eyes and Maybe It's Time, and some of those are my favorites right now. And do not be surprised if my November favorites is filled with songs from this soundtrack, because this soundtrack is beautiful. But also, like, for fans of Gaga, the songs that she does with him are beautiful and go with the movie. But then the like more alley songs that she does, and this is the Wet n Wild Mega Length Mascara. This is definitely not my favorite, but this is like $3 and I needed mascara and I have no money, so anyway. And so I felt like it's perfect for someone who's already a fan of her, because like Hair, Body, Face and Why Did You Do That, and all of those are like classic Gaga songs, and I felt like that was the perfect role for her. I don't know details because I know that the movie was done by Bradley Cooper, so I don't know if he created that alley role with her specifically in mind or not, but either way it was perfect for her. And I thought it was beautiful. I hope it wins all of the Oscars. I want to see it again. I want to get it on DVD. I want to get the soundtrack on vinyl. I've listened to the soundtrack probably 4 times since I've seen it. It was just so good, and I was so impressed. And I was so glad that I got to see it with my brother, because I associate all things Gaga with him. And then for my last thing, I'm just taking this Metallized Liquid Catsuit. I love that name for a lip product. Also by Wet n Wild, and I'm just going to put some of that on. So yeah, that was my kind of get ready with me. I'm gonna film another video now, so that's why I put makeup on. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed. I know this was different, but I wanted to talk about A Star Is Born, and my thoughts were not organized enough to like actually sit down and make a video on it, as you can tell. So I just kind of wanted to talk about it. So please comment if you've seen it and tell me what you thought, or any like ideas or theories that you have about it. And yeah, please make sure to check out my other recent videos. I will have all of them linked, and I will see you guys on Saturday. Bye.